A brief disclaimer before we begin. All mock reviews from now on will have more focus on story. Because of this, I will be disregarding any detail of Greg Farshtey's canon that doesn't make sense or that I just don't like, such as monogendered Matoran tribes and the nature of love. With that in mind, let's start this mock review. Name: Nocturne. Title: The Night Hook. Race: Toa, mutant. Element: Air and Shadow. Alignment: Chaotic Neutral. Faction: The Night Ensemble. Taroka was a female Lematoran with a shy demeanor and few friends. She wouldn't be missed when she was abducted by Mutran as the subject for his new project. The first step, naturally, was to introduce shadow leeches, followed by controlled doses of energized protodermis. Then came a long period of induced incubation via stasis. Before Mutran could return and see the results, he perished in the events of 2008. It wasn't until 100 years after the reformation of Spherus Magna that she would be released by two other Toa of Shadow. They would eventually form a close-knit group called the Night Ensemble. Together, they lurk in darkness and generally cause trouble. To match with the musical theme of the group, they gave each other musically themed nicknames. Hers was Nocturne. Within the group, Nocturne plays a ranged support role, specializing in an elemental hybrid attack of dark, smoky wind. With her hooked tail, Nocturne can grab and lift away foes, to capture them, or just to drop them from high up. Nocturne's theme song is Chaos Amongst the Silence from Panzer Dragoon Saga, which you've been listening to, and also plays in the slideshow. It features a somber and meandering melody, as well as playful jingling percussion. It suggests danger, mystery, and otherness, so you're not entirely sure what she's about, but you'd best keep on your toes. And thus concludes the story section of this mock review.
Alright, salutations and praise the table. Welcome to the mock section of this review of Nocturne. It has been a really long time since I've done a review. I kind of dropped off it with once I made the Nocturne slideshow, and I figured, why not come back with the one I left off on? So it's but anyway, with all the character and story out of the way, I can be a little more clear and concise and organized and full of brevity. So with that in mind, let's get started on this mock. So first of all, you'll notice she's very non-humanoid in shape. So first thing I had to do when making this review was create this little stand, which is, all things considered, quite stable. Mostly pretty sleek and just out of the way. The yellow, I wish I had more of those pieces in black, but you know me. So we've got, where should I start? Well, tradition dies hard, so let's start down here. So with this tail, it used to have a one of those 2008 Fantaga pieces as the hook, but I figured that was getting a bit clunky, and it kind of just didn't flow well overall. So I took one of these, painted it black, and I think it looks pretty nice. It's directly connected to this little hand connector piece that it was broken anyway, so I just sawed off the broken part, and now it's a lot more aesthetic to look at. So there's that. Immediately above that, there is this Metru piece, which doesn't flow together too well with the textures of the upper parts, but I think the shaping is spot on. So there's that at least. But I think the whole mock is kind of really jumbled in terms of textures, but I've always struggled with that, and this time I kind of just don't care. So yeah. And that brings the tail up to this this thicker part up here, which is just it's an Bionicle limb, and it's just covered with these Inika armors. The wrong way, of course. But this way I can fit 2 of them on there, give it some nice bulk, and then filled it in with some greebles, and that's lovely. So that's the tail done. You'll notice she has some wings where legs would be, and I'm really proud of this because it's, you know, anatomically correct. If wings can't just sprout out of nowhere, they gotta be from something. So in this case, you know, this would be made of leg and foot bones, you know, and like each of these phalanges here would be toes. So like, I'm kind of proud of that, how that works out, but, you know, gives her a bit more stability in the air, and so that's fine and dandy. Here in the waist, we've got a few tires, and those help fill up the empty space that would have been really, really annoying. So, I love tires. Tires are the best. Maybe second best to Slicer feet, but there's not actually any of those on this mock. That's a shame. And we got some Technic mumbo jumbo in here to fill up some more empty spaces. A little hand connector in here, and just, I really like it. I really like how this is shaped. The textures aren't too bad. At least they don't clash with the overall theme of the mock. But that is that. What's more interesting up here is this altered Core Hunter helmet that I'm using as the chest plate here. I figured that these little nozzles would be really hard to see through anyway, and just overall didn't look good in the first place, so I cut them off. If I ever feel like using it in the future, it's not going to be too crippled in terms of aesthetic. There was a lot of empty space inside here, and I figured there wasn't enough other green, like you can see here on these HF shells and the hair bits, and the eyes. There wasn't enough green on like the main torso, well, or any at all for that matter. So I decided to just do a little bit more heresy and put some sticky notes in there. And you know, if you pay attention with Balsa and with a few others, I think I make liberal use of sticky notes, so that's, oh yeah, and then this is actually on a hinge. It only stays still because this just, doesn't allow for any movement. So, well, it allows for a tiny bit, but, you know, that's fine. But, moving on, we've got, oh yeah, you can see where the stand connects there with a few rods. I think this back is pretty good, albeit full of greebles, but it does the job. It's the right shape, I think. So, one relatively new detail we've got here is these little Borak eyes. I have them as shoulder spikes, and they don't really get in the way at all for posability. There's still a big range she can achieve here. But I think it kind of makes up for how the upper arms, the biceps, are very unbulky, completely unarmored. But I really like the look of that, so that is, that's pretty good. Let me talk about the arms for a second. Wings, I mean, I'm really proud of this. Like, again, with what I was talking about with these right here, I like when wings are anatomically correct. Like, unless it's like a bird wing with just one kind of finger bone going along the whole length. Usually wings are, you know, made of fingers, so you can kind of see what I was going for here. Because, like, wings are arms. All you have to do is morph a bit, and it's a wing. So, we've got a thumb here, and that's opposable, and the most useful tool she has on her body aside from the hook. That's what she does to, articulate in conversation and to grab things and put them in her mouth. But I'm not entirely sure if she does need to eat or if she can just recharge like all the other biomechanical boys. But something I'm kind of disappointed about with this wing here, it's got these other finger kind of parts that are just painted on here, on this fabric here. And there is not enough room to put any actual Technic in there to reinforce that look. So that's a little bit regrettable, but overall, I'm mostly happy with it. And it is a little bit posable, like I said. Well, no, I didn't say, but so these can hinge along that little this system joint that is oh so popular among the mocking community. And you can just stick all sorts of stuff on there, and it will be a really, really tight joint, like almost to the point where if you try to move it, it would rather break apart than articulate the way you want it to. So that's a little bit of something to be wary about, but it is kind of reinforced here with this Hero Factory shell holding it together, I think. And on the back here you can see how this what's it called? Mixel part holds the wing on, holds the fabric piece on. Oh yeah, something interesting about this these fabric pieces, I accidentally got two of the same piece, so they were both facing this way, had the printing on the same side. So something I did was I went and painted the same design on the back. So I think that's a happy little accident that led to an overall better look, I think. I might not have decided to do that on the other side if they were actually, the opposite pieces like they should have been. Woo! Ooh. I expected that to happen a little sooner, but it was still jarring. So, those are the wings, described in full detail. And, this head, it's just Elegy's head, since they're related, so, it's just the same thing, and I'm sure I've, showed it to you in a lot of detail. But, something else interesting is, this hair. Usually Toa, or whatever, don't really have hair, but I figured it just looked too good to exclude. So that is a thing. Let me talk about posability for a minute here. Gonna have to take her off the stand. We've got full, complete posability here. Not really restricted. It would be quite restricted if I decided to make it an actual leg, like if she could, transform. Not sure if I want to do that, but it would be a cool idea if she could sort of just morph these into a leg whenever she wants. And quite convenient, but the tail, it's on a hinge, so that can't really go too much side to side, and that's fine. Most of these others are on a hinge, but they can achieve a little bit of whatever. And then this is just a whole ball joint, so that's full mobility, and then, that's another hinge. So, overall, really posable mock. We got full articulation in the arms. The wrists can't actually, bend this way, but they can bend this way. So, but, I find, for most poses, that's not really necessary. And if I were to try and make that, it would probably make the arms, way too long. So, And then in the head, pretty much full. Restricted a little bit, but yeah. So that has been Nocturne. I hope you like it. I really enjoy this. It's the most unique of the three sisters, certainly. So, I guess I'll just have to leave you with that. And yeah, see you next time with Elegy, I think. She was the one that came next in the slideshows, I think. So, yeah.